Welcome to a PHP Basics tutorial on arrays. An array is a type of data storage in which you can assign multiple values to multiple different keys. They are sort of like a variable, but at the same time they perform a different task. An array is accessed through the $sign, just like a variable, the array name, and then your key name. So for instance, that would be an array if your key name was key and your array name was array. That concept of them is quite basic. So for instance, if you had an array with a key name dog, it would be like that. So your key name is within square brackets within quotation marks after your array name. So, in order to define an array, you have a number of options. The first way to do it, and the most explanatory as it comes to the principle of the array, is defining it using an array and your definition of each of the key names. So what I mean by this is array, or this is how you do it rather. So you have your array name is equal to the array keyword, brackets, and your line terminator. Now within these brackets, what you do is you have your key name, and that makes an arrow with an equal sign and a greater than symbol, and that points to the value that you want to assign to that key. And then you can have a second key name, and that points to the value that you want to assign to that key. And so for instance, array key name will now have value as value, and this itself is just like a variable. However, in array, which is the array, you have both keys stored. And so let's say we wanted to output this array that we have defined. It's our nice little beautiful array. So you'd go to echo it. However, this will not work. Ignore that error for a sec, as it just outputs array. This is because you can't just echo the entire array. You can echo an individual array key. So if I were to fill in the key name as key name, and we go back and refresh this page, you can see that we get value. If I go key name 2 and save this, refresh, and see that we get value 2. But without this key name, this array does not output anything with, or nothing useful rather, with echo. But there is a handy little function in PHP that prints out all the keys and all the values in a human readable format. The function is print_r, and you just enclose the array that you're printing in brackets. So if we go back now, you can refresh the page and see that we have this output. Now, this still may, especially if you have a very complex array, look a little bit gibberish to you. However, if you go to view page source, right clicking and doing that, you can see that now we have this array output in a very user-friendly manner. So we can say that it's an array. The first key is key name and has a value of value. The second key is key name 2, has a value of value 2. And so that's a lot more usable. So print_r outputs the entire array. So that's the first way to define an array, and that's where you define the key name as well as the value. The next way to do it is very similar, only you let PHP define your keys, and it will define them as a 0, a 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. for as long as you have keys. So this is done merely by setting a comma-separated list of values that you want to assign to each individual key within the brackets. So, for instance, I'll just have a comma-separated list with value, value 2, and value 3. We'll have 3 keys. Value 3, rather. So if I print this array out as well, so we'll go print, oops, and refresh this page, and we will view the page source. You can see that PHP has auto-set the keys to 0, 1, and 2, assigning the values in the order that I specified them. This will be used quite frequently, just to use the keys of 0, 1, 2, especially if you don't need to store any particular information within each key. So if you're not storing specific information to, say, one website, if you're cataloging information on websites and you want to store one or each key to be its own individual but uniquely specified website, then you'd want to specify your own key name. But in most cases, it works fine to do this with the arbitrary 0, 1, 2, 3 key names. And so yeah, so that's PHP auto defining. If we want to reach, say, the second or the third value in this, we can echo array 2, because that would be array 0, that's array 1, that key name is array 2. It will have the value 3. So if we just echo this, we'll close the page source, and refresh, you see we get value 3. So that's the second way to define a single dimensional array. The next way is to use a similar method to when you're defining variables. This is done using the array name, and then a set of square brackets is equal to whatever you want the value of that key to be. So again, you can let PHP auto define this as whatever key you'd like it to be, so 0, 1, 2, 3, or you can set your own key name in here. It does not matter. So we can go key, or we can just leave it at that. You could define it as 0 yourself. But this format right here is essentially the same as the other two formats. It's just you use these square brackets opposed to the array keywords, and it performs the exact same task. So let's go, we'll define our own key name here, and then we'll set another array key to equal cats in the hats. Anyways, so we can print out this array and refresh this page and view this page source, and you can see that our key value in here and our key 2 has some cats in the hats. And so as you can see, even though they are defined on separate lines, they all group into the same array, and that's really where an array differs from a variable, is the fact that you would have to have like array, say these were variables, you'd have to have array and then array 1 to define as separate variables, and then to manipulate them you'd have to do it as separate variables. Arrays allow you to join related data together and in a usable format. The last type of array that I want to cover in this tutorial is what's called a multidimensional array. And as that may sound, it's where arrays have more than one key. specified, but per value. So what I mean by this is you'd have array, and then you'd have key, and then you'd have another key right here, and this can be value 1, and then we would have 1, value 2, 2, value 3, and then this array could have a key 2 with a 0, and we would have our 4th value, and we could have our 5th value, and etc, etc, etc. And I mean, they can go more multi-dimensional than just 2. You could then have another one on top of here, and another one on top of there, and there, and there, etc. But anyways, defining them is not a lot different than defining a single dimensional array. So we're going to again just call our array array for simplicity. And we're going to have that equal to the array keyword. Within here, we're going to bring this down. We're going to set our key name to just a key. We're going to have it pointing to. And here's where things change. Instead of just pointing it to a value, you're going to point it to the array keyword once again. And that has to have a comma after it because everything in the array is a comma separated list. But let's go into array, and then we just set our list of values. So key value 1, value 2, value 3, and then we can have our second key, and we're going to have that equal to array value 4, value 5, and lastly value 6. And so then that array can end. And so in array key we have another array. So not only is this a key, this is also an array in itself. So then we can have array key 0, which will equal this, and then array key 1 will equal this, and array key 2 will equal this, and then the same for when we have key 2. So let me just print out this array to show you what they mean. So let's go back, we'll refresh this page, and we'll view the page source. So you can see that we have our main array, and then we have a key, and this key is also an array with a key of 0, a key of 1, a key of 2, and these have values 1, 2, 3, and then we have key 2, which is 0, 1, 2, and 4, 5, 6. Now, just like when we were defining the arrays otherwise, you could in here set your own key names just by saying key name points to the value that you want it to. However, once again, you do not necessarily need to do this. And the other way to define a multidimensional array is using the other syntax that we learned, where you have array key, and then another set of brackets is equal to value. And we'll just bring that down, and we'll have value 2, and we'll bring it down once more, and we'll have value 3, and then we'll copy these, and we'll paste them right here, and we'll change this to key 2, key 2, and key 2. And if we refresh this now, and we view our page source, you can see that again we have a very similar output, just with different values. So that is the basics of arrays and how to define them and how to basically manipulate them using printr, or how to echo out the specific key where the value is held. I may put up a tutorial later on more advanced array manipulation using other functions that PHP has in order to get full use out of these, but not today. I'd like to thank you for watching, and I hope you learned something. If you have questions or comments, please send me a message or comment below. Check out my other videos, and thanks for watching.